Clearly, good morning to your viewers and listeners. I don't arrange appearance before committee. I'm a member of parliament, so I know how committees work. And once a schedule is agreed, that is so published. And the published schedule is what we work with. I received notification to appear before the appointments committee on Wednesday, the 29th of January, to be vetted. Then the day before that day, the appointments committee decided to do what it has no mandate whatsoever really to do. If the committee felt that someone was in contempt of the parliament or the committee, there is an appropriate committee to deal with such a matter, and that is the privileges committee. But the appointments committee decided that it was going to, on its own, invite a witness that they thought has made comments that cast a slur on the works of the committee. So the Wednesday vetting was actually suspended. So for those of us who were to be vetted on that Wednesday, we were told to wait for a new schedule. The new schedule came up quite late, indicating that we should appear before them on Thursday in an order of Dr. Rashid Pelpo coming first from 8 to 9 a.m. The second was supposed to be Murtala Mohammed from 9 to 10 a.m. Then Sam George was to come third from 10 to 11, and I was to come fourth from 11 to 12. Then they would take a lunch break for 30 minutes. Then after that, Sam Okujeto Ablakwa was to come fifth from 12:30 to 1:30, and it followed in that order. They were to vet, I think, about 7 or 8 persons on that day. Mm-hmm. So one is therefore surprised that the whoever, I don't know who have described that some persons were smuggled in.
Afenyomakin.
Whatever, well, Afenyomakin is absolutely wrong. And what it means is that the appointments committee have done a poor job. Poor job by scheduling what it is that they know they cannot do. Then they will go and have their own meeting, and without communicating to persons you have already invited. You don't work that way. That's a very lazy way of working. If truly they say so, then I will not be charitable with them. That's a lazy way of, and Parliament is an organized institution. We don't behave that way. We are not running some village setting meeting. You are running a serious business. So you don't schedule nominees to appear before you, and if you held another meeting and decided you could do only a certain number, you don't communicate to those nominees, and when they appear there, as expected of them, you end up describing that they have been smuggled instead of you apologizing. I think this appointments committee have done a lot of harm to a number. You remember when Dr. Omani Boama appeared? You invited a person stating a time the person was to appear. Even before that time, you were already out there shouting that you gave him time and he didn't come. And this came from the same minority leader. And you have to eat your humble pie by apologizing later, when it was proven to you that your own invitation to the person stated 11 o'clock. And so you don't come announcing another time that you have thought. So again, they met as a committee and decided, okay, we will start at 9, and without communicating to the person. And what happened was that the previous day, which was Monday, they had vetted some other persons that should not have been vetted on that day. So original schedule for Dr. Omani Boama was for him to appear at 11. So possibly they had wanted him to shift his time a bit earlier, so they could do more on that day. But if you don't communicate with the person, why now come on air and suggest on a live TV that the person was late, he was given time, and he has not appeared? This level of bravado don't take anybody anywhere. And I think that as honorable members of parliament, we need to do the honorable thing and speak only when we are so sure that what we are speaking is the truth and nothing but the truth. But if we want to engage in rabble rousing, in shouting, in doing all the things, in name calling, in wanting to deride others, it doesn't take us anywhere. You don't speak for once and say, oh, we had accepted for certain things to be waived so that nominees could be vetted early enough to help form government, and then at the same time, your behavior, your actions, your comments suggest otherwise. So clearly, it's not the case. We had a schedule that was sent to us. We had letters inviting us for the meeting, and we went. Truly, on that day, not all those who were to be vetted were vetted. And some of them will necessarily come. You have supporters, sympathizers, lovers who will come from far and near, just come and show solidarity. And what has been happening there for me is not the best of what situation. There is a need, as a matter of urgency, for the Standing Orders Committee of Parliament to immediately come out with some rules relating to how nominees will be vetted when they appear before the Appointments Committee. It cannot be the case that one person should ask questions for 2 hours. No. It should not be the case that one person should even ask questions for more than an hour.
So it means that with what is happening, it seems to have exposed some weaknesses that will give you the opportunity to amend.
Reasonability had prevailed in the past, and so everybody thought that that reason will prevail. You see, when you come to plenary and say the Minister for Finance presents a budget, after we debate the principles behind the budget, and in doing so, time sometimes gets allotted. Members can debate for like 5 minutes. Sometimes rankings, deputy rankings, chairs and vice chairs of committees, ministers and deputy ministers, when they are selected by their side to speak, they have more time. Sometimes they do 10 to 15 minutes because they are considered as part of leadership. Then, when all these have happened, the final day of the debate on, say, a budget statement is reserved for leadership. And leadership sometimes is given between 30 and 45 minutes to do so. Same applies when the president appears before the House to present State of the Nation address. Yes. When comments are made by members, the leadership is now given the opportunity to wind up, and they are given between 30 and 45 minutes. So it is the understanding that we have always worked with, that whilst leadership, minority and majority leader will have more time, that the fact that you have more time doesn't mean that we become so unreasonable in terms of the more time we have, that you have opportunity to ask a number of questions. So you have an answer. So I have an answer that I expect Richard to offer. So as I ask Richard questions, and he's not giving me the answer I have in my head, I have to continue going round, and for thinking that...
Which is what we saw in the case of Sammy Blackwell
and then Sam George. Because they have an answer. You ask the person, you say he attacked someone. The person say, I critique the person. That's the person's answer. The committee can review the question, the evidence you have upon which you ask the question, and the answer provided by the witness. If you are not satisfied with the answer, that can reflect in the report of the committee that we were not satisfied with the answer provided by this nominee or this witness to this matter. So because of that, we are subjecting him to a vote, and that we are not approving him by consensus. And so it should go as a majority decision. because we are not satisfied. But to waste everybody's time because you want a witness or a nominee appearing before you to accept that I attacked and not criticize. It is this and not that. So we will waste like an hour just going round and round and round and round. It doesn't help anybody. And I believe that, like you said, this behavior has given opportunity for us to try and then work things out. This is the first time truly so that a minority leader has behaved in this manner of lending. Yes, we've had minority leaders ask questions, multiple questions, but I don't think that for one nominee it's gone beyond an hour.
Go ahead.
Clearly, Richard, as usual, could not justify why blame the NDC for the chaos that happened in the vetting room on Thursday, the 30th of January. Clearly, here you have, he says, the majority side saying, we are ready and prepared. Parliament and parliamentary committees work with quorum. Once business have started, it is a matter of what quorum that determines. If it was the case that they didn't have quorum because a lot of people were tired and have left, and that the few left, if they also decide to go, will mean that the committee will not form a quorum to be able to continue with its business. Then you say that it cannot work. We've had instances where the committee was sitting and asking questions and you didn't have the ranking or even sometimes the deputy ranking present. And one or two other persons have sat in for them. Some of them who have sat in are not actually original members of the committee. The deputy minority leader is not a member of the appointments committee. Jerry Ahmed Chab. It's not.
That's a whip, deputy whip.
Yeah, whip. He is there because he is part of leadership. And by our rules, leadership can attend the committee, and when they are present, they can ask questions. That's why sometimes you find the majority leader being present and also asking questions, even though he's not a member of the committee. So they form quorum and could continue. The rest did not complain that we are tired. We cannot use we are tired to affect the work of a committee. That has been agreed on before. Because clearly
it may have been agreed on, Kofi. It may have been agreed on. But at 10 p.m., 11 p.m.,
and I'm saying that
12 midnight.
Why? Parliament have sat sometimes when we were considering things at plenary.
Yes.
We've sat sometimes till about what? 4 a.m.
Yeah, but that's not regular.
And I'm saying that we have sat like that before. So it's not like it has not happened. When they were in the majority, the whole parliament was made to sit even up till 4 a.m. to consider all kinds of things.
I mean, we all sat with you.
So why are you complaining that 10 p.m. was
It's
too late? Why will you complain that 10 p.m. is too late when we have sat up till 4 a.m.?
But if they say they are tired.
And I'm saying that, but if you say you are tired, has anybody stopped force them not
with the plenary sitting?
I am saying that.
Because with the plenary sitting, normally you do that when parliament is rising.
And I'm saying that, no, this was not even the rising matter.
But which one are you talking about?
There were instances where we have sat to a time that was so, sometimes could be described as unnecessary, not because we were rising.
Oh,
not
okay.
because we were rising. We have had such situations.
Okay.
And I'm saying that if you are tired, you always have breaks. People walk. It's only the chairman that sometimes is almost always seated
Must
there.
be there.
And sometimes when he's tired, he hands over to the vice chair to handle because he must attend to some other activities, even in the plenary. You see, the chair of the committee is also the first deputy speaker. So sometimes when Mr. Speaker is not there, and the second deputy speaker is not there, as it happened sometime last week, he has to come in to also preside over the plenary. But all that I'm seeking to suggest is that they form quorum,
and they could easily have continued because you have advertised and you have invited persons to come. And these persons have come with some of their elders who were there to show solidarity. And you look in the face of these elders who have been sitting there from morning, some from Western North, some from Volta, and say that, oh, to hell with the chiefs and elders from Volta, you can go and come the next day. When it was possible to have just spent the next 2-3 hours to deal with those situations for them to go. Unfortunately, they chose to fight and to distract that because if we leave, majority of the members will still be present and they will form quorum and they will continue business. So the way to go about it is to disrupt and scatter the whole system. That was what they did. That was why when the majority leader came, he said, look, it is impossible to vet under the condition because the gadgets have been damaged, have been disrupted, and the technical persons are not available. Even if they were available, it would take quite some time to refit some of the tables with their
So they would have
stands.
vetted anyway.
If the MPP side have not scattered the things the way they did, vetting would have happened because the nominee was seated. All that the nominee was waiting for was for him to take his oath. So he will do the introduction and then questions will be fired at him for him to answer. Honorable Akando had taken his seat, was ready to be vetted before all this scattering commenced. And so the reasonable thing to do was if you state your case and maybe the chair says, no, you are overruled, I'm continuing, and you think that you don't want to take part, you can walk away, like they did on Friday. Friday, didn't they walk away? That based on the interpretation of what the speaker did, they were walking away. A few moments later, the same people who said they were walking away because of speaker's ruling now say what the speaker said is unconstitutional and it offends our rules. So,
but that's why they walked away.
No, they walked away that the speaker had ruled and has taken some decisions that affects the work of the committee and that they cannot continue to sit there to do the work when speaker has given some orders. Then the same people who walked away based on the orders and the ruling of the speaker now comes back to write this, that, oh, speaker, your orders, your decisions that you took were unconstitutional. Your decisions did not follow our rules. Okay. So you walk away for the same decision, and now you are challenging the same decision for which you walk away.
I get
that it is unconstitutional. It doesn't follow our rules. It doesn't follow our orders.
How do you get that? That is to say that you condone an illegality.
You walked away from what
and I'm saying
you were
that
saying was
they were vetting nominees. Listen,
if the speaker has ruled on something that you claim is unconstitutional, then you didn't have a reason to walk away and give a reason that it's because of the speaker's ruling or decision.
The ranking member of the committee and the minority leader was questioning Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa when his minority whip, deputy minority whip, walked in and informed him that this is what had happened at the plenary. And that some members have been suspended, and the speaker had directed that the appointments committee be reconstituted. He had formed an ad hoc committee.
Replaced.
Yes. No, not be replaced. He says the appointments committee be reconstituted. He had ordered that the selection committee should meet immediately, and that meeting must happen that day, that Friday, and that the standing orders committee should also meet and review the rules that applies to the appointments committee. Then, let me finish. When I finish, then you understand.
No. I'm saying that so they were going to reconstitute the appointments committee, effectively reshuffling the minority leader.
Well, he says
whose position is ingrained.
He says no. He says the appointments committee must be reconstituted. The appointment committee,
to the extent that
the appointment committee has 5 members who are not office holders. Who are not office holders.
So those ones, that is replacement, not reconstitution.
Well, that's the term that was used. And you can't replace
without going through a process. You see, Parliament is a place of procedure.
I agree. But I'm saying that if you say reconstitution, then it means that you are scrapping and bringing a whole new people. But then the people's roles are ingrained.
Reconstitution means what it means. He says the selection committee should meet, and that meeting should be immediate.
You carry on.
I'm talking about the orders that he gave. So these orders were communicated to the minority leader. Then the minority leader, after having spent more than 2 hours asking Honorable Ablakwa questions, now says that because of that communication to him, he would not want to sit and continue the work that the appointments committee was doing, because the speaker's ruling, the speaker's directives affect that committee, and that he would not be a party to anything that the appointments committee would want to do because of the speaker's ruling on that Friday during the plenary hearing. So they walked out, and the majority side continued with the vetting. They vetted the rest of the nominees that day. So now, after, the same persons who walked out on the strength of the ruling of Mr. Speaker now comes to suggest that that ruling
was unconstitutional.
So if it was unconstitutional, if it did not follow the procedure as set out in our standing orders, why walk out of the appointments committee? Why not sit and carry on with the work? Because what the Mr. Speaker did, you yourself say is unconstitutional. So you cannot eat your cake and still want to have it.
But that was after he had reviewed.
And I'm saying that's eating your cake and why? These things are on our fingertips. We all knew, even those of us who were not lawyers, knew the Order 5, the Order 35, and on how it applies, its strengths and what have you. These things were known. The truth of the matter was that he had finished asking his questions and thought that if they did that, they would stop Honorable Ablakwa's vetting, and then they will have a bite another time. But they left, and the vetting went on, and it went on perfectly.